Today I want to take you with me on a garden tour in November to highlight some of the things that are still looking beautiful right now, and also to share with you some of the things that I'm going to be cutting back and some of the things that I have already cut back, and to show you the progress that has been done in the garden and some of the tasks that I still need to do in the garden as well. So let's first start at the cottage garden. These right here are the salvias that I started from seed earlier this season, and they have been blooming the entire season from the moment I planted them to just until the hard frost that we got. And you can still see they have some structure still to them, and their blooms have faded, but they are still providing this structure and a little bit of color. Even though their blooms have faded, they still have some of this kind of blue tinge to it, and they are again providing beautiful structure in here. Their foliage is still beautiful. Unfortunately, these salvias, when I planted them, I thought they were a perennial to our zone, but then I went back to the website and where I purchased the seeds from, and it turns out that these salvias are a perennial to zone 6. So I'm really hoping that they would come back. If we have a mild winter, then there's a chance that these salvias might come back. But if we don't, then it's all right. I'll try to plant something else in here, but I'll be super sad, I'll say that, because these were providing tons of color the entire season, and I'm super happy with their performance. And I would encourage anyone, if you are in zone 6, to plant these salvias in your garden. These are just the blue salvia. This is the name of the plant. I'll put a link for where I purchased the seeds from if you are interested in planting these salvias in your garden, and you can start them from seed like I did. And I have actually a video on when I started these salvias from seed, so you can follow along with that video and start your own perennial salvias from seed if you live in zone 6 or below. So as you can see, these salvias surround the entire cottage garden, and this cottage garden is fenced in. This fence was here when we moved into our house, and we didn't really have to do any work when it came to the fence, but I had to do a lot of work inside the cottage garden. It was originally a vegetable garden, and there was tons of landscaping fabric on the inside of the cottage garden before it was a cottage garden. And also you can see right there we have our apiary. We're not sure if we lost some of our bees or not. We'll see. The salvias that were on this side did not perform as well because they did not have the water. I think also maybe sunlight. It might have been blocked by some of the shrubbery that we have over here that is going to be cleaned out hopefully in the next season. Eventually I'll be putting down some mulch, and I also think that I would like to put down a barrier over here. Again, our lawn is half cut, half not, because our lawnmower keeps breaking, and it's a saga. So I apologize about the lawn beforehand. But I do want to put some sort of an edge to prevent the lawn from coming in and having to constantly edging it throughout this growing season, because this grass is very ferocious and it creeps in very quickly, because there's also a lot of Bermuda grass included in this grass over here. So I don't want to keep battling it, and until then I'm not going to be putting down anything in here. I'm not going to be ripping out the landscaping fabric until I figure out a solution for the grass. Otherwise I won't have a flower bed in here, and that would be a problem and a very sad thing, because I truly love this flower bed. So right now let's go ahead and go into the cottage garden. So as we enter the cottage garden, the first thing that you can see, of course, is these dead zinnias. And there is a purpose for these dead zinnias. One of the reasons why I am leaving these zinnias over here is because we live in zone 5B. And in our zone, we get a lot of cold weather, and there's really not much for the birds to feed on. And the zinnia seeds provide food for the birds in our area. And this is one of the main reasons why I'm leaving them in here. Also, they provide some shelter for some of the beneficial bugs, such as the lacewings ladybugs, and as well as they provide some winter structure in here. It's not that great, like this one over here is falling over, and I should have done better and staked my zinnias, but I didn't. So we'll just ignore that fact. But I think that because there's just not much going on in this garden yet, and this is a fairly new garden. I started it last season, and I only planted a couple plants in here last season, and this season I added a few more plants, and then I decided to plant this row of zinnia over here. And also there are some other flowers that I planted in here, like cosmos and some other type of annual flowers. And I wanted to create this kind of row in here, and that was just to experiment with the flowers and to see what I like in here, what kind of flowers that I want to be in here, because this eventually is going to be a perennial garden. On this section over here is going to be the medicinal garden, and I have already started some plants in here, like the hollyhock. And the hollyhock is a biannual, so I will have to replant it again in a couple seasons. So next season it's going to bloom, and then the season after that it is going to die, and that would be the end of its life. So I'll have to replant it, or it might reseed itself in here as well. And the hollyhocks in here are just down, so there's really nothing to show you. So now if we walk over to this side over here, you can still see that there is some structure in this area. Like, for example, I have this statue over here that was given to me by our neighbor. It belonged to her mother, and I really appreciate that she gave it to me, and I really cherish this statue over here because it also sort of reminds me of my kids. It has this beautiful boy that is holding this top over here, and you can put a planter over it, or I chose to put a bird bath over it. And there's this dog over here. My kids love dogs, but we don't have a dog, but our neighbors have dogs. So it kind of reminds me of my kids. So this right here, the water is turned off, so there's no more water coming in here. And I don't have a water heater of any sort. This was meant for the bees, so that in the summer when the bees are super thirsty, they will have this as an easy water access for them. Because what was happening is that I would be working in the vegetable garden, and they would come and start attacking me because the water source is right there, because there would be, as in some areas, there would be some water pooling, and that's not a good thing, but some areas did do that. That's my mistake because of some of the hosing that I used. And so I decided to put this in here and keep them away from the water source in the vegetable garden. Another thing that was happening also is that if they sense any hint of water, let's say just the drip tube is dripping a little bit, they would come and gather there and start drinking from that drip tube. So I got stung about 7 times in the same place last season, so I just did not want to repeat it. And this is why I put this this bird bath over here, not bad birth, bird bath over here. And I also filled it with rock because I did not want the bees to drown, and that's one thing you have to be mindful of. If you are providing a water source for the bees, you want to make sure that they have something to stand on, otherwise they will drown. Also, this blueberry is still looking gorgeous. It is magnificent. I love its vibrant red color, and I don't know what planted itself over here. Something volunteered of the brassica family. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know, but it's an edible thing, and I thought the foliage was interesting, so I just left it. There are also some perennial weeds in here that I have to take care of in this garden. Again, I haven't touched this garden lately, so I do need to come in here and just kind of do some maintenance on this garden. And next season, Lord willing, I'll be mulching this whole area, because mulch is super important because it provides insulation for the soil, and in the soil you have these good bacteria, and the good insects that are living in the soil. So you want to provide some form of protection for them. Also, you don't want to kill the first layer of the soil. So in the summer, when the heat of the summer hits on that surface of the soil, it is going to kill that surface of the soil. So you want to kind of protect the surface, and that's one thing that I'm struggling with in my vegetable garden, which we will get there, is mulching. And I'm not sure yet what I want to be using. I've done several things in the past years, and it's just kind of costly, and I want something that is low maintenance and cost effective. So I'm going to be thinking about that this season, this winter season I should say, and planning for the next season on how I'm going to be approaching this whole mulching approach in the vegetable garden. But right now I just wanted to show you this beautiful vibrant blueberry. It is gorgeous, and I think this still provides, even though we are in November and we had several hard frosts, it's still providing this beautiful color. I'm not sure, maybe it's receiving a lot more sunlight than that one over there, and maybe that's what's causing it to stay in color, or maybe it's just, I don't know, receiving some protection over here to keep its color. Also, these are two different varieties of blueberries, so that could have some role in that. Also, over here on this side, I have planted these, what are they called? Let's look at the tag again. Stevens cranberries, and you can see that these have beautiful color also. Forget the weeds, don't focus on them, but these have beautiful color. They are evergreen. I wanted them to create this beautiful mound in the winter, and they are going to grow about 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. It depends on where they're growing, but I think that they like this spot because this area in the garden is a very wet and damp area. Also, I wanted to mention this right here. So this, I stumbled upon it a couple seasons ago. We wanted to do it last season, but we totally forgot about it. And there's a scientist that had done some research on ticks and such, and ticks go on mice first, and that's where their life cycle starts. So the nymph latches on the mouse first and it feeds on it, and that's where they get the Lyme disease from, and then it moves on to other animals, and then it goes on to the deer. I'm not sure exactly if it goes on to a different animal before the deer, but it first goes on to the mice, and that's where Lyme disease comes from. So what this thing does is it has the poison inside it, and these like cotton or something like that, that the mouse are going to crawl into these tubes, get that material that has the poison on it. It's not going to harm the mice, which honestly I don't mind it harming the mice because we have a lot of mice in here. And it is going to actually affect the ticks that are on the mice. So it's going to kill the nymphs that latch on the mice. That's what it's going to do. So this scientist designed this kind of thing for the nymphs so that you kill the ticks at the beginning of their life cycle. And for us, this is a big deal because we have tons of ticks, and I'm always concerned about the kids when they go play outside. I don't let them to roll on the grass, and sometimes one of them or two of them might do that. So we always end up doing tick checks after they go inside, because you know, Lyme disease is a very serious thing, and we don't want anyone to get it. And so we are trying to do this preventative method so that we can battle the ticks that are in our area. And we want to go the organic route because we don't want to spray, because that can do a lot of damage to the ecosystem. And also, if we want to let our chickens graze, or who knows in the future if we might end up getting some other animals, we don't want to be harming those animals. So by using these cones over here that I just showed you, we're hoping that this is going to help us with tick prevention. So one thing I forgot to mention is that you want to lay out these in the fall. That is what the instructions says on them, because that's when the mice are going to come into these cones to grab the material to build their nests. So now let's head over to the butterfly garden to show you the progress that has been done there. So we are right now at the butterfly garden, and it doesn't look like much right now really, There are still some things that are standing, like these over here. Forgot their name. They're a type of hyssop. These are the, oh yes, the agastache. These are the rose mint agastache. This one over here is the, how can I forget your name? Come on, show me your tag. Raspberry dayquery agastache. So everything that you see in this garden has been planted from seed. And with the butterfly garden, most of it is going to be perennials and annuals, because it is a lot of plants that the butterflies are going to feed on and also lay their eggs on. So there's a lot of thought that has to go through this. I also want to bring in the hummingbirds as well. So I do have some salvias in here, some things that are going to bring the hummingbirds and some that are going to bring the butterflies. And also I want to bring a different variety of butterflies. I have noticed that the black-eyed Susans bring in the black cloak butterfly. Is it the blue cloak, black cloak? I forgot its exact name. It's a beautiful butterfly. So I want to bring in a varieties of butterflies. I also planted in here some what's it called, for the monarchs, the milkweed, a type of milkweed for the monarchs, so that they could lay their eggs on that. So all that you see again is started from seed. There's some echinacea in here and some other stuff, and I will be adding some more next season. So I finally finished mulching this whole area. I also put down cardboard underneath it. I wanted to originally put down compost before I put down the cardboard, but then I rethought about that, and I thought that that's going to add a lot of cost, so I did not want to do that, because we have already spent a lot on the trees this year. That was a big chunk of our budget for the garden, so I did not want to add more cost to that, because last season we also got some compost and some soil for the vegetable garden. So it is looking, I think, really good, and it's going to give us a good start for next season. So next season I don't have to worry so much about the weeds, and I could just get in here and start planting. I also wanted to mention some things about cutting back perennials in this butterfly garden specifically. So when it comes to butterfly gardens, I'm really hesitant to cutting back anything, and that is because there might be some types of butterflies that may lay their eggs in here, and their chrysalises, or whatever it is that they have, chrysali, I don't know what's the plural for chrysalis. Anyways, so their chrysalis would still be in here, and that's a possibility, because for example, like the tiger swallow butterfly can stay, I think. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that some butterflies might stay dormant in the growth in here that is going to be developing. So right now there's not a lot of growth really, but there might still be some beneficial insects, so I'm not going to cut back anything in here. And my hair is acting crazy. It's really windy today, and I hope that the audio is okay. I finally got a microphone. This is why you see this pet mouse over here. This is actually my microphone. It's really soft. So I'm hoping that the audio is okay. Also, a lot of our neighbors are doing yard work outside, so hopefully you guys are not hearing any of that and are just having a great audio. That's what I'm hoping. So that's it on the butterfly garden. So now I want to show you quickly the new bed that I developed. It's not new anymore. It's a couple years old or so. So yeah, it's a disaster. I haven't been here the entire season, with exception to the spring when I planted the boxwood and the status and such. And I hope that there aren't a lot of weeds in here. I did come and pull out some weeds, but you can see that the daisies over here, the Alaskan daisies, have to be cut back, all of them. I mean, at this point I could just pull all this growth. And the magnolia is finally starting to lose its leaves. It also looks like I have some critter over here that dug a hole. I'm not sure what that is. could be a mole. That's a bad sign over here. So next season I'm thinking of something else. I don't want to plant the statice in here anymore because I honestly was too busy to come here this season, and I didn't have really a purpose to come here because this is not finished yet. We're still it's still in the works to get this patio done. Hopefully next season we can get it done. I just want to put gravel down and maybe a brick border or something like that just to keep the gravel in. And I want to put a fire pit in there and some tables and chairs and have an area for us to come here. And I created that area over there in the back to have some wood so that, or to have some firewood so that we could use it for the fire pit. And this is why really I haven't been really coming here. Also, I was super focused on the front, and really I'm going to be focusing on the front a lot because our front is a disaster. But I have done great change in the front, and we are going to be heading there right now to show you the change that has been done, that has been taking me a long time to do, and finally it's done. So let's go ahead and head over to the front yard and show you all the progress that has been done there. So I was going to take you to the front flower bed, but our neighbor's dog came as soon as she saw me and she wanted to play. So the kids are right now playing with her. So I wanted to highlight this oak leaf hydrangea over here, and I have already made a video on the different shrubs and trees that you should include in your garden for a fall color. And look at this, we've had so many frosts and this oak leaf hydrangea is still performing amazingly, and it has beautiful foliage. I love the leaf structure. It has a beautiful structure itself also, and the color on it is just stunning. I love it so much. And I also have some sort of evergreen ground cover in here, like the, what's it called? I have some strawberries, but I will be digging these up eventually and putting them in my vegetable garden because I have a specific bed for them that they're going to be going in. I never actually did cut back again the chives, and I do want to change the chives from here. I don't want to keep the chives in here. I want to plant something else. I think it's just too messy of a look. I love their color in the early spring and when they bloom again, but because of all the fertilizer that they're getting from the hydrangea, they tend to flop over. They don't want a lot of fertilizer. When you fertilize them tons, this is what they do, and all the runoff from the hydrangea gets to the chives. I also planted here some heucheras that are still doing great, and they put on a little bit of growth. I started these from seed, and the boxwood looks like it needs, does it need water? No. I think it looks okay. No, it has been raining a lot. It's bronzing a little bit. And this is the Green Mountain boxwood, and this is my plan is to shape it into a cone so that we can hide that post over there, because that is an ugly post and I don't like looking at it in the winter. I also came in here the other day and I planted these blue salvias. I had them in the pots in front of the shed. I dug them out and I put them in here, but I mulched them really high because these are the same type of salvias that are growing in front of the cottage garden, or around the cottage garden I should say, and these are not hardy to our zone. So by mulching them, I'm hoping that they will come back. I mulched them about 6 or 8 inches high, so I'm really hoping that they will come back for us next season, because I do really love them a lot, and I think they'll provide a beautiful blue color in this section that is missing from here. I do want something that is blue in this section. These what are they called, bearded irises in here, they still have some green foliage on them. You can see they have tattered leaves and such. I'm leaving them until they're done. I'm not going to do anything with them. I do think that they are still providing some structure in here, and that's better than nothing. If I cut them back right now, the bed will look just super empty. Also, this euonymus is still performing wonderfully. I know this is a tall structure in front of everything else. But this is a cottage garden, and the reason why I left this euonymus to grow tall is because I was planning on taking cuttings from it and planting them as a hedge in the front flower bed, but I have changed my mind. But for now, because there is really not much going on in this bed for the winter, I'm going to leave this. Right now in the fall there's a lot more color, obviously, especially with that oak leaf hydrangea, but chickens are fighting. But I think that this euonymus is going to provide us with a beautiful structure for the winter. Also the thyme, even though it's kind of half dead and such, it provides a beautiful color in here in the winter because it is evergreen. So there's still some green structure in here, as well as the what are they called? It's creating a carpet. It's a type of carnation. I forgot its name. How can I forget its name? I don't know. But it's a kind of providing a green, bluish green ground cover in here. And I think it's beautiful. So when the snow melts in the winter, which we do end up with periods of freeze and thaw, so when that happens, we'll still have some color in here in this section, because that section has a huge slab of concrete, so I can't really grow anything that has deep roots in it in that section. And this is why the that plant, which I can't remember its name, is I think works great for there, as well as the bearded irises in there. Some of the things that are still providing structure, of course, also are the rose, and then the rose will still provide structure in the winter as well. It's kind of done for the season, but it's better than just having an empty bed. And when you are planning your garden, just think about all these things. Think about all the seasons and the different structures that you will have in there, because in the summer and in the spring and the summer you'll have a lot of blooms if you have bulbs, and for the spring and in the summer you'll have the perennials. But if you don't have any form of shrubs and evergreens and such, you are going to lose a little bit on that when November comes, or when the fall comes and the winter. So think about these things when you are planning your garden. So now I can take you over to the front garden and show you the progress that has happened over there. Can you look at this? It's finally done. And yes, I'm walking on the bed. I shouldn't be doing this, but I finally finished mulching this whole area and I'm super excited about it. I shaped the bed, and or I should say I reshaped the bed, because there was a bed in here and I made it a lot bigger, and I added in this peach tree over here, not peach, sorry, nectarine. This is the Fantasia nectarine. So I'm hoping that we will be getting some nectarines off of it next season, and it's going to add some structure to this garden over here, because there will be a lot, hopefully, happening over here on this section next season. The plan is to have an evergreen hedge in here, and I'm going to go with some boxwood. That is the choice that I landed on. I was, as I mentioned earlier, thinking of the euonymus, but because I want to have an evergreen hedge of the same type on that side, and I wanted to have boxwoods on that side, this is why I went with the boxwoods on this side, because I want them to match because of the walkway that's in here, and I wanted to make sure that it's going to look cohesive and look beautiful. And of course we are going to have here an opening. So these are all plans that are going to be happening the next season. There's a lot that I will have to add into this garden, but it's going to happen slowly over the years, because it is going to be costly if I just add it all at the same time. And also it is going to take a lot of seed planting, and I don't have that much space in my basement to plant seeds. I will be planting a lot of seeds, of course, for this area, hopefully, but I am limited on the amount of space, and I plant a lot of my vegetables from seeds, or I should say all of my vegetables I plant from seeds. So I do need that space for the vegetables that I'm going to be starting from seed indoors. So I have to compromise on the things that I am going to be starting. So let me take you over to the opposite side of this garden and show you what it's looking like on the opposite side. So you can see it is all fully mulched. I still have the salvias in here. I don't know if you guys can see them. We're kind of working with sun and shade over here. And I did mulch them pretty high again in hopes that they would come back. We have here some ajuga and the creeping phlox, some, what do you call it? Some pink veronica, and these are the, I'm not sure, Chabot La France carnations, or I have to look at my seed packet again. I think these are the yellow variety, and on them it said that they are a perennial, but I didn't believe it. So they're still looking great right now. We are going to find out next season if they come back. That means that they are a perennial for us. If they don't come back, then we are going to plant something else in here. And for next season, I have a whole plan that is going to be coming over here, so stay tuned for that. I will take you along with me on this plan for this garden over here. And I really enjoyed having these salvias over here. They were stunted though because I kept them in their little startup cells for too long. So oh, I think I might have stepped on one. Did I? Yes, I did. That's all right. Not a big deal. It's buried. Hopefully it'll come back. I did enjoy them though, but because they stayed in their cells for too long, they didn't thrive. I planted them after a long time from starting them. I also have on this side over here the At Last rose, and it finally, or at last, it is doing well. It was struggling a lot when I had it in my flower bed that is under the deck, and finally it started thriving a little bit after several years. And the plan is to have several roses dotted around in here that are going to be for medicinal, that are going to be for edible use, because I love to make rose water and rose tea. So this is my plan for the roses in here. So I want to look for roses that are good for that purpose. I also divided and moved the bearded irises over there, and hopefully next season they're going to bloom. I think some of them will. Some of them look like they're not going to bloom because they are still small. They don't have a lot of leaves on them. And I have a whole plan for this section over here. I did put cardboard, and if you remember, if you've been here, then you would know my saga with the what's it called? Now I can't remember its name. Lily of the Valley. It's a plant that I love, but it was here when we moved in, and I've been trying to get rid of it from this area for the longest time, and I haven't been able to. I did the same thing several years ago with the cardboard and the mulch, and I'm trying it again, see if it's going to smother it. If it doesn't, I'm going to spray it. So I'm not going to plant anything in here until that Lily of the Valley is taken care of. And if I pull any plants from here, I'm going to check the roots, make sure that there are no Lily of the Valley roots in there, because these things are a thug. I love them, but they are in the wrong place, and I just don't want them in here. Also, you can see I lost some of the echinaceas. This is Echinacea purpurea that I planted later this season or in the early fall. I got it on sale and I divided it, and I still can divide some of them, so I'll do that next spring and replant in that spot over here that is missing. And I do need to cut back also the sedum that is in here. This is firecracker sedum. It is a low growing sedum, but it provides this beautiful purple color, and from spring all throughout the summer all the way to the end of the fall until we get a hard frost. And also I have here this boxwood that is going to be shaped into a ball shape, And I planted this boxwood this season, so it's going to take its sweet time in growing and shaping it. Hopefully next season it'll put on a lot more growth and I'll be able to shape it a little better next season. I also wanted to give you an update on the hedge over here. I planted 17 of the Spartan junipers over here as a privacy hedge, and they are doing great. They put on a lot of growth, I would say about a foot. This section over here I planted after I planted this section, and I can tell the difference between these two sections over here. This section that I planted first has put on a lot more growth than the section that was planted after, but I'm super pleased with them. I think they are doing great. I only saw a little bit of dead on some of them, so I came over here and I clipped the dead off of them, but I think they are just looking absolutely amazing. This one looks like it broke apart. This part got broken off of it, so there's still some maintenance that has to be done on them constantly. And this one over here, I think this one right here is leaning a little bit to this section, and I think that is because of this lilac and because of the apple tree. So I have to stake it a little bit so that it stands up straight, and I think I may have to remove this branch over here so that this tree can receive a little more sunlight so that it doesn't lean kind of in a weird direction towards the sunlight, and this will hopefully help it. Eventually these lilacs are going to be going out of here, but for now they are staying here until we have this, until this hedge grows a little bit. And maybe let me take that back. In a couple years I would like to take this lilac out of here because I don't want its roots to damage these trees while we're pulling it out, and this is what I'm concerned about. I'm thinking even maybe next season we may have to take it out, and I would like to replant this somewhere else in our garden because lilacs, especially the purple lilac, is actually the state plant for New Hampshire, and we live in New Hampshire, and I want to have this lilac on our property. I just want to make sure to find this proper space for it because they love the sun. And as you can see, this lilac over here is kind of leaning in this direction because of the crabapple tree that's over there. Takes away some of the sun and it gives it some shade, so it kind of leans in this direction towards the sun. Also, when we move these lilacs out of here, it's going to give the bed that's in front of it, which is the one I just showed you, a lot more sunlight because these lilacs are kind of casting their shade on the bed. So this way, if I plant something that loves the sun in that place, it's not going to struggle. Also, at the end of the season, I came and I planted this weeping, it's called golden mop cypress. That's what it is. This is the golden mop cypress. I had it in the flower bed that's under our deck, which is a cottage flower bed, and I planted the boxwood in its place. But I realized that this is going to grow about 5 feet tall, which is my height. I'm 5'4", and I did not want this to be in that bed for that reason, because it's going to block a lot of the plants that are going to be there. And it is beautiful, but it was in the wrong place. So I thought, let me put it in here as an anchor kind of to end this hedge, because I did not want to continue with this hedge over here. And I have a whole lot more plants for this area, but this area has to be cleared out over here. And I want to plant a viburnum and hopefully a snowball viburnum if these viburnums are hardy to our zone. So this is where this now lives, and I think it provides this beautiful contrast with the Spartan junipers over here. And I think they work really well together, and it provides this kind of beautiful pop of color in this otherwise dark area. This evergreen tree, which I'm not exactly sure what it is anymore. I did some research on what it is and I forgot what it is. So I have to look it up again, but it is a beautiful evergreen tree and I really love it. I think it provides beautiful structure in the garden. I think it is a, I'm not gonna say what I think it is because so many times I've been wrong and it's kind of embarrassing. So I'm not gonna say what it is. I'll find it, see what it is, and then hopefully I can write down its name so that I can remember what this tree is. So I have some hostas under this tree, but the deer keep coming and eating them. So I think I'm going to rethink this whole area, and I think I want to plant something that is deer resistant, because the hostas over here are just the deer buffet and they love them and I don't get to enjoy them at all. So it is really a bummer. I love hostas and I think they look absolutely gorgeous in this section over here, but unfortunately they're a no-go with the deer because I do have to keep spraying them so that the deer stay away from them, and we get tons of rain over here, and because of all the rain that we get, I would have to constantly be spraying every other day. So it doesn't work. It's not going to work that way. So I'm going to be choosing something else for this area. And this area over here, I added a whole bunch of plants this season. So right here we have the mugo pine, and this is going to grow about 10 feet wide to 6 feet tall, and that's going to provide a beautiful structure and color. It also has these beautiful candles that it puts out in the spring, and I got it specifically for its kind of erratic shape, and it has a beautiful growth habit, and also for the candles. I thought it looks cute and I wanted it in my garden. And there are a lot of beautiful evergreens that I wish I could have in my garden, but I just don't have the space. We have 2 acres and I have to be very careful on where I place those plants, because I also want sunlight and I want other trees, and I am slowly expanding the gardens and adding in more things. Over here next season I have more plans on some other trees that I'm going to be adding and such, and but for now everything is still has grass around it because I don't want to be coming and weeding, so the grass is kind of acting as my ground cover in here, and I just mow around it and I use the hedge trimmer to trim any grass that I'm not able to mow around. I still have some grass that I need to trim, and I also planted this maiden grass over here. I forgot its exact name. Gracilium, I think. Yes, this is Gracilium maiden grass, and this one typically in the fall it's going to be putting out some beautiful plumes, but this season it didn't put out any because I planted it pretty recently. But it provides this beautiful structure, I think, especially in the fall when there isn't much to look at, and in November, especially in zone 5, I mean, this season was very different for us. We had a lot of warm weather and we got our first frost in the 1st of November. Super weird, but I'm super thankful for that. And over here I also added this hydrangea. This is a proven winner variety. It is let me try to remember it. I forgot what hydrangea it is. I don't know, but this one blooms on old and new wood. I'm sorry, if I remember its name, I'll flash it on the screen. It has pink blooms, and I think it does change color with the soil acidity. So I did add some soil acidifier in here while I was planting it. And in here I also have a rhododendron that is going to be very beautiful. And this is the Zelpa. Yeah, Nova Zembla. Nova Zembla, it has beautiful magenta blooms, and it's going to bloom in the spring. And this is also an evergreen, and it has beautiful leaf structure. So this is another one that I think is a great addition for this garden. And this is the Morning Glow Maiden Grass, and I love this one so much, especially when it does dry out a little bit. The grass blades kind of curl up, and it has this beautiful structure to it. It has this kind of whimsical and airy structure, like, I don't know, it's It's very glowy, as its name, but I do love it so much. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. I want to thank you guys so much for joining along on this garden tour, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I also want to ask you, what is your favorite plant right now in November in your garden, and whatever zone you are in? What is your favorite plant? And tell us the zone that you are in also, so that we know how that plant does in your zone. And if you are new here and you like these types of videos, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and the bell to receive notifications of whenever I upload new videos. Also, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button so that more people can see it on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. And I'll be leaving a video for you right here to watch. Until next time.